28. So far, 28 pa lang kayo nandito. Tama, 28. Kimberly. Wala na iba? Okay. Wala na. Si Kimberly lang, saka si Bell. May excuse. Okay, so start na tayo. So we are going to discuss topics for week 3 and 4, which is the coverage for your given assessment and summative tests, which will be checked again next week. Next Friday ulit ang checking natin. Okay, but after our discussion, you're going to have your exit quiz. Ano? Okay, so start tayo. So we're going to discuss mid-segment, trapezoids, as well as kite. Okay, so first, let us have a review of the following geometric terms that we need in our discussion. So first, midpoint. Okay, so based on the given definition, a midpoint is a point on a line that divides the segment into two congruent parts or into two parts with the same length. Okay? So for example, we have this line segment YU. So line segment YU has a midpoint, which is point O, and point O is said to be a midpoint if and only if your segment YO is congruent to segment UO. Okay? So point O is a midpoint if the two formed segments YO and UO are congruent. Okay? So if so given point O as the midpoint of segment YU, then syempre, if they are congruent yung YO and OU, that means they have equal measures. Okay, take note pala, if you are comparing the parts, you are going to make use of the congruent symbol. But if you are referring to the measure, you make use of equal sign. Okay, so sa geometry, yung equal sign, it means equal measurement. Okay, equal measures. So measure ang pinag-uusapan. Pero pag ginamit nyo yung congruent symbol, then you are actually referring to the part itself. So mga parts ang ginagamit. Kasi yung iba, pag ang tinutukoy nila is measurement, yung mga ibang ginagamit nila is yung congruent symbol. But actually, hindi dapat yun ang gamitin. It should be the equal sign. Okay. So here, if YU is 34 centimeters, then what would be the measure of YO and UO? Anyone? Remark?
17 centimeters po.
Okay, very good. So both will have a measure of 17 centimeters. You simply divide the measure of YU by 2. Tama? What if ang given measure for segment YO is, let us say, 10 centimeters? What will be the measure of segment YU? Yes, Raymark, again? We have
20 po, ma'am.
Yes, very good, 20. Okay, so if YO is 10 centimeters or 10 units, then segment YU will have a measure of 20. Simply multiply YO by 2. Kasi kung yung YO is 10, that means your UO is also 10. So 10 plus 10, you have 20. Okay? So another geometric term that we need is the vertical angles. So anyone who would like to define or describe vertical angles? So ano ba yung vertical angles? Again, Raymark.
Ma'am, vertical angles are a pair of opposite angles formed by intersecting lines.
Yes. So, very good. So, vertical angles are actually a kind of angle pairs. Okay? So, sabi nga ni Raymark, is a pair of it is a pair of angles, opposite angles which are formed by intersecting lines. Kasi when you have intersecting lines, you actually have two kinds of angle pairs. So you can have a linear pair or the vertical angles. Okay? And if the intersecting lines are actually perpendicular lines, you have right angles naman ang mafo-form. Okay? So when we say vertical angles are two non-adjacent angles or opposite angles formed by two intersecting lines. So if we have these two intersecting lines, line AN and line CS, so they intersect at point B. So meron tayong apat na angles na na-formed. So what are the two pairs of angles that we have? Would like to give the first pair of vertical angles in this intersecting lines, formed by these two intersecting lines. Kasi we have four angles. Angle ABS, angle SBN, Raymark.
Ma'am, yung first angle po is angle ABS and angle CBN po.
Okay, so that is the first pair. We have angle ABS and angle CBN. So this is the first pair of vertical angles. Yes, Miel, for the second pair.
Ma'am, angle ABC and angle CBN.
ABC and
CBN.
CBN.
SBN po pala.
Yun, angle SBN. So angle ABC and angle SBN as the second pair of your vertical angles. Okay? So take note that vertical angles are also congruent. Okay? So they are congruent. Pero yung linear pair, they are supplementary. Ayan. Nabigay na natin yung angles. So yan yung binigay na example na pair ni Raymark, angle ABS and angle CBN. Then the second pair, which was given by Miel, we have angle ABC and angle SBN. So vertical angles are congruent, therefore, you have angle ABS is congruent to angle CBN rather, and angle ABC is congruent to angle SBN. So pag measurement yung binigay, you drop the congruent symbol but replace it with equal sign. Okay, so we have now the midline theorem. Okay, so midline theorem as stated is the segment whose endpoints are the midpoints of two sides of a triangle is parallel to the third side and half as long. So basically, kaya siya tinawag na midline theorem because it is the line or line segment. Ito rin actually yung tinatawag nilang mid-segment theorem. Okay? So it is the line found at the middle part of your triangle, which is actually formed by connecting the midpoints of the two opposite sides of your triangle or two sides of your triangle. Consecutive pala lahat ng sides ng triangle. So the segment whose endpoints are the midpoints of two sides of a triangle, it is always parallel to the third side. Yung third side na tinutukoy dyan is yung side na hindi involved doon sa line or it is not the side kung saan ina-identify yung midpoint nung dalawang sides o walang anong tawag doon, na point na midpoint na sides ng triangle. And the measurement of that midline, the mid-segment of your triangle is 1/2 of the third side and vice versa. So for example, ito, we have triangle ACB. So itong triangle ACB, of course, you have side AB, side AC, and side BC as the sides of your triangle. Okay. Then we have here line segment PQ. So this segment is a midline if point P and point Q are the midpoints of segment AB and segment AC. So this is a midline kung yung point P at point Q, which connects, which are found at the sides of your triangle, is the midpoint of the two identified sides. That makes your segment BC as the third side. So ito yung third side natin, yung segment BC. Take note na hindi palaging yung segment BC ang third side o yung side na nasa baba ang third side natin ha. Pwedeng yung third side, pwedeng ang maging third side natin dito yung segment AC if the midpoint that is located is found at segment BC. So suppose we have point R here as the midpoint of segment BC. So yung segment PR, if you are going to draw, then siya magiging midline. Ito ang magiging third side naman natin, AC. But using this figure, ang third side natin is BC. So if segment PQ is the midline, that means the measure of your segment PQ is 1/2 of your line segment BC. So if line segment PQ has a measure of 2 units or 2 centimeters, what will be the measure of segment BC? Ano kaya magiging measurement ng segment BC if line segment PQ has a measure of 2 units or 2 centimeters at that? Raymark?
4 centimeters po, ma'am.
Yes, we have 4 centimeters, right? How about if line segment BC has a measure of, let us say, 15 centimeters? What will be the measure of segment PQ? Raymark?
7.5 centimeters po, ma'am.
How did you arrive at 7.5 centimeters?
Dinivide ko po yung value po ng BC sa 2 po. Kasi po
Yes.
yung BC po is twice ng value po ng PQ.
Yes, that's right. So we simply divide the length of BC by 2 kasi kalahati nga ng line segment BC is yung measurement ng PQ, which is our midline. Okay, so if triangle BAC, dapat in yan. So in triangle BAC, P and Q are midpoints of segment AB and segment AC respectively. Then, bakit? Wala na, natanggal. Okay, so then we can say that segment PQ is parallel to segment BC. Okay, so yung midline natin, segment PQ is parallel to segment BC and PQ is equal to 1/2 of BC. So yun yung midline theorem natin. So let us have the application for the midline theorem. So we have here our triangle ACE or triangle ACE. So as you all know, similar markings in geometry means congruent, okay, or equal measures. So yung line segment CB is congruent to line segment AB because they have similar markings. Ito, tig-isa sila ng mark. So that means that point B is a midpoint of segment AC. Okay, likewise, since segment CD and segment ED has similar markings, tigdadalawa sila ng guhit, ibig sabihin pareho sila ng measurement. That means point D is the midpoint of line segment CE. So therefore, we can conclude kahit wala doon sa direction, doon sa given, na yung segment BD is parallel to segment AE, and it is actually, yung line segment BD is actually a midline of our triangle ACE. Okay, so we can give the measures for the following. So number 1, who would like to answer number 1? If CB is 8 centimeters, then AB and CA has a measure of, yes, Jeddah?
Ma'am, AB is equal to 8 and CA is equal to 16.
Okay. We have AB is 8 centimeters and CA is also 16 centimeters. Number 2, Cyrone.
Ma'am, CD is 18.5. Ay, 19.5. Tas DE is 18.5 din, ma'am.
Come again?
Ma'am, 18.5. Ay, 19.5 pala.
Ano talaga?
Ma'am, 19.5 po.
O, Kisha.
If CE is 29 centimeter, then CD is 14.5 centimeter, and D is 14.5 centimeter din.
Okay. So both CD and DE has a measure of 14.5 centimeters. Ano ang ginawa? Bakit mali yung sagot ni Cyrone?
Ma'am, 39 pala yung sa akin.
Ala. So 29 centimeters lang. So basically, i-divide nyo lang yan by 2. Okay? Tignan nyo mabuti yung anong tawag doon, yung mga given and direction. So na-experience nyo dun sa quiz. Lang daming may mali dun sa quiz number 1 and number 2. Tama yung sagot, meron mali lang yung pinag-follow nila sa direction. Okay? Sayang yung points. Okay, anyway, going back, let us have number 3. If AE is 24 centimeters, then BD is equal to Raymark.
12 centimeters po, ma'am.
Why?
Di-divide po, ma'am, sa 2 po.
Bakit?
Kasi po, ma'am, yung AE po is twice the value of midline BD po.
Okay. Tama. Okay, number 4. If BD is 15.8 centimeters, then what will be the measure of AE? Ayoko na si Raymark, yung iba naman. Nakarami na si Raymark kanina pa. Oh. Huwag kang sasagot na. Precious.
31.6 centimeters po.
Bakit?
Ma'am, ano po, minultiply po kasi yung BD po is half as long po nung AE.
Okay, so we multiply 15.8 by 2. So you have 31.6 centimeters. Okay, number 5. If BD is x plus 3 and AE is 3x minus 5, then find x, BD, and AE. So what will be the value of x? Tagal nyo namang mag-solve. Doon ka kasi. Nandito ka nanggugulo. Nagkaklase ako. Gumawa ka na ng module mo. Who would like to give me the value of x? Raymark.
Ma'am, 4 po.
Why?
Kasi po,
What
ma'am,
will be
yung,
your equation? Yung equation na lang bigay mo.
ma'am, x plus 3 is equals to 3x minus 5 po.
They are equal?
Yes. Yes, ma'am, because congruent, hindi po congruent, pero parallel po kasi.
Oh, parallel sila pero hindi sila congruent. Asan na yung half as long? Is a midline. The length of BD is 1/2 of AE. So may mali yung yung equation mo. But nice try. Sinong may ibang equation? Wala. Okay, so yung equation nyo pwedeng ganyan. BD is equal to 1/2 of AE. Midline is equal to 1/2 of the third side. Or you could have AE, yung third side natin, is equal to twice the length of the midline. Which is actually yun yung in-apply ninyo in answering number 3 and 4. Okay na, nakuha nyo na. Actually, tama yung, yung anong tawag doon, yung binigay na value ng x ni Raymark. Yun nga lang, yung equation ang mali. Okay? So, your equation ang ginamit is actually, eto, yung AE is equal to twice BD. So, we have 3x minus 5 is equal to 2 times yung length ng BD, x plus 3. Okay, so therefore, we have, 4 ba yung binigay mo, Raymark? Kanina?
Yes po, ma'am.
Ayun. Kaya pala mali, sorry. Okay, so 3x minus 5 is equal to 2x plus 6. So therefore, the value of your x should be 11. Okay? So take note yung midline at saka yung third side nung triangle, they are not congruent. Okay, so sabi dun sa midline theorem, the midline is parallel to the third side of the triangle and it is half as long as the third side. So the length of the midline is half, 1/2 of the length of your third side of your triangle. So basically, ito yung equation nyo if you are going to determine the length of the midline or the third side of our triangle. Kasi kung yung mid points lang naman, ito, halimbawa yung CB or kaya CD ang hahanapin natin, they are equal to the other half nung kabilang part ng midpoint if you have the midpoint. It is either you're just going to multiply it by 2 or divide it by 2. Which is halos pareho lang din dun sa BD and AE but they are not congruent. Okay, take note na hindi sila congruent. So if to answer BD, to give the length of BD, therefore, ano ang length ng BD as well as AE if x is 11? Yung magbibigay ng length ng BD saka AE. Sino to? Sino yung may nag-raise na? If x is 11, what will be the length of BD and AE? Jeddah.
Ma'am, BD is 14 po. Tapos yung AE is 28.
Okay, so BD is 14, AE is 28. So may questions kayo sa first lesson? Questions? Wala? Wala na? Oh, wala. Okay, so punta tayo sa next. Wait lang. Okay, so our next lesson, next topic is about trapezoids. Okay, so last time, diniscuss natin yung mga properties ng parallelograms. So special parallelograms. Ano ulit yung tatlong special parallelograms we have? Would like to enumerate the 3 special parallelograms, Jeka.
The square, rectangle, and rhombus po.
Okay, we have the square, rectangle, and rhombus. So those are the 3 special parallelograms. Okay, so now let us have the trapezoids. Okay, so trapezoids. Who would like to describe a trapezoid? What makes it different from a parallelogram? Anyone? Wala. Kung yung, yes, Jester, Princess.
Ma'am,
Yes.
yung trapezoid po, quadrilateral with, 2 pairs of opposite parallel sides po.
Trapezoids?
Opo.
Sure.
Ma'am, one.
Jeka.
Ma'am, ano
Jeka.
po, only one pair of parallel sides.
Okay, so that's it. Trapezoid, it has only one pair of parallel sides. Yung 2 pairs of opposite parallel sides, anong klaseng quadrilateral yun? If the quadrilateral has 2 pairs of opposite sides which are parallel, what kind of quadrilateral do we have? We have pag may dalawa siyang pares ng parallel sides, anong quadrilateral yon? Raymark.
Parallelogram po.
Parallelogram. Okay? Parallelogram, pag dalawa yung pares ng parallel sides. But if you have only one pair of parallel sides, you have a trapezoid. Paano kung wala siyang pair ng parallel side? Anong quadrilateral yon? Jeddah.
Trapezium po, ma'am.
Yes, we have trapezium. Okay? So take note, pag trapezoid, isang pares lang ang parallel sides. Okay? So, again, as defined, a trapezoid has exactly pair of parallel sides. Isang pair lang. Of course, it is a quadrilateral. So, hindi na natin kailangang i-identify dyan. So, the parallel sides of a trapezoid, nabanggit ko na to sa inyo last time, are called the bases, while the non-parallel sides are called the legs. Okay? So, kagaya ng parallelograms, the sum of the four interior angles of a trapezoid is equal to 360 degrees. Okay? So, 360 degrees ang sum or total ng apat na angles ng trapezoid. Okay? Which is actually a general characteristic of a quadrilateral. Okay? So, the parallel sides are called the bases, while the non-parallel sides are called the legs. Okay? When it comes to the angles, yung angles na nag-i-include sa base are called base angles. So since we have two bases, a shorter base and longer base, meron din tayong dalawang pairs ng base angles. Okay? So we have two pairs of base angles. Ayan. So the two angles that include the base are called base angles. Then we also have the altitude. So altitude is the other term for the height of a trapezoid. Other term to for the height. So the altitude of a trapezoid is the segment perpendicular to the bases. Actually, lahat naman ng altitude ng quadrilateral, it is a segment which is perpendicular to the opposite side. Okay? In case of a trapezoid, the altitude is actually a perpendicular line from the two bases. So it starts from one of the vertex along the base perpendicular to the other side or to the other base. Wait lang. Ito muna. Dito muna tayo. So name the bases, legs, altitude, and median of the trapezoids below. So let us have this first figure. So meron tayong side AT, side TH, segment HM, segment AM, tapos meron tayong line segment IC, and line segment TE. Who would like to name the two bases of this trapezoid? Trapezoid math. What are the two bases? Jeddah.
Ma'am, side AT and side MH.
Okay, so we have side AT and side MH as the bases. How about the legs? Jeka.
Side AM and side TH po.
Okay, so those are the legs, side AM and side TH. How about the altitude? So meron na lang tayong dalawang segment dyan. Segment IC and segment TE. Alin sa dalawa ang altitude? Jeka?
IC po.
Ano yung definition natin ng altitude? It is a segment perpendicular to the base. Jeda.
Ma'am, side TE po.
Yes, we have line segment TE. So, ito siya, perpendicular siya doon sa segment MH. So, from the vertex T, it is perpendicular to line segment MH. Okay? So, segment TE is an altitude. Pwede rin kayong magkaroon ng altitude along this side. If you have here, from point A, vertex A, perpendicular to this side, segment MH. So kung meron tayong point, let us say S dito, then line segment AS is another altitude or height. Then yung line segment IC, that is the median. Okay, from the word mid. Okay, middle. Parang dun sa mid segment kanina or midline. Okay, second, identify the bases, legs, altitude, and median. Jeka.
Side GA and LI po, yung base.
Base. Side GA and side LI as the bases. Legs. Jeda.
Side GL and AI.
Side GL and side AI. And then we have the altitude. Altitude. Kisha.
Side EL po.
Side. It should be segment. Okay, segment EL. So, correct ko lang ha, hindi siya side, but it is a segment. Okay, kasi yung sides ng trapezoid natin is GA, AI, IL, and GL. So, ito, it is a segment. Okay, how about the median? Teka.
Segment CS po.
Okay, so we have line segment CS. Balik tayo dito. Okay, so next. If the trapezoid has congruent legs, it is an isosceles trapezoid. Okay, so if the legs of your trapezoid are congruent, they have equal measure, then you have an isosceles trapezoid. So we have these three basic properties of an isosceles trapezoid. Kanina dun sa yung dalawang figure natin kanina, they are actually examples of an isosceles trapezoid, I should say. So the first property is, of course, the legs are congruent. Yan yung isa sa mga basic properties ng isosceles trapezoid. The legs are congruent. Take note na sa trapezoid, pwedeng hindi congruent yung dalawang legs. Okay? Then, the base angles are also congruent for an isosceles trapezoid. Kasi there are instances, especially if your trapezoid is a right trapezoid, the two consecutive angles are right angles. So yung isa sa mga angles sa base that contains the base is actually a right angle. So dun tayo nagkakaroon ng right trapezoid. Then if your trapezoid is an isosceles, the diagonals are congruent. So the diagonals of an isosceles trapezoid are also congruent. So legs, base angles, and diagonals are congruent for any isosceles trapezoid. So kindly take note of that. Legs, base angles, and diagonals of an isosceles trapezoid are congruent. Likewise, the consecutive angles, okay, you have two pairs of consecutive angles, which are not base angles, of course, are supplementary. Supplementary yung dalawang consecutive angles ng isosceles trapezoid provided that they are not base angles. Hindi sila yung pares ng base angles. Then yung median is the median of a trapezoid is a segment whose endpoints are the midpoint of the legs. Median of a trapezoid is sometimes also called mid-segment of a trapezoid. So, median or mid-segment, pareho lang yun. So, it is parallel to the bases, just like your mid-segment doon sa triangle kanina. It is parallel to the bases, and its length is equal to half of the sum of the lengths of the bases. So, dun sa midline theorem natin kanina, doon naka-base etong median ng trapezoid. Doon na-derive etong formula actually ng median ng trapezoid. So, the length of the median is always parallel to the two bases, your shorter base and the longer base. And the length of it is 1/2 of the sum of the two bases. So you can have this as your formula for the median of a trapezoid. You have the median is equal to base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. Or you can also have twice the median. 2 median is equal to the sum of the two bases, base 1 plus base 2. So for example, eto. Ayan. So dito sa trapezoid pink. Okay, wala akong political ano dito ha. Okay, so pink. So we have isosceles trapezoid pink. So that means PK, segment PK and segment IN are equal. Okay, they are equal because they are the legs of our isosceles trapezoid. So, meron tayong 6 na questions dyan. Let us have the first one. If PK is equal to 3x minus 5 and IN is 2x plus 3, find x. Okay? So, una, i-identify muna natin kung anong part ng trapezoid yung given, PK and IN. So, anong part ng trapezoid yung PK and IN? They are? Jeka.
The legs po, ma'am.
Okay, they are the legs. Okay, so since they are isosceles, the trapezoid is an isosceles trapezoid and they are the legs, that means they are equal. Okay? Take note, wala na yung sign ng line segment dito ha, drain up na. Hindi na siya, tinanggal na yung symbol, yung line dyan sa taas ng PK because we are already dealing with the measurement. So kung measurement ang pinag-uusapan na, hindi nyo na kailangang isulat or i-draw yung symbol ng line segment. Okay? Pero kung congruent yung nilagay ninyo, anong tawag doon? Kung ilalagay nyo pa yung symbol dyan, lalagyan nyo pa ng line segment dyan, make sure that you are going to attach yung small letter na M before PK. Okay, so M tapos segment PK. Ibig sabihin, measure of line segment PK. So yan. So ito yung magiging equation natin. Since they are the legs of isosceles trapezoid, then they are equal. They are congruent. So solve lang by combining similar terms. So therefore, x is equal to 8. Okay. Number 2. If ik is equal to 2x plus 3 and pn is equal to x plus 9, find pn. So ano yung ik at saka pn? Legs pa rin ba sila ng trapezoid natin, Raymark?
Diagonals po, ma'am.
Okay, so very good. They are already the diagonals. So ano yung property involving the diagonals of an isosceles trapezoid? They are Princess?
Ma'am, congruent po.
Okay, they are congruent. So if they are congruent, naturally, yung equation natin, parang ganun lang sa number 1. I-equate lang natin yung dalawang measures, given measures. So we have 2x plus 3 is equal to x plus 9. So therefore, what will be the length of Pn? Jeda.
Ma'am, 15.
Okay, check natin. So combine lang yung similar terms. So x is 6. So therefore, Pn is 15. Okay, so that means the measure of line segment Pn is equal to 15. Okay? Number 3. Ayan. If the measure of angle I is equal to 100 degrees, find the measure of the remaining angles. Kung parallelogram yan, titignan nyo lang yung opposite angles, di ba? Opposite angles are congruent. Tapos, consecutive angles are supplementary. Pero sa isosceles trapezoid, hindi. Okay? So, i-identify muna natin kung alin dyan yung base angles. Okay? So, angle I is obviously a base angle. Pero ano yung kapares niya? Sino yung kapartner niya dyan? Si P, si K, o si N? Jeka.
People, ma'am.
Okay, we have angle P. So angle P and angle I, they are the pair of a base angle. So sila yung first pair ng base angles natin because segment PI is the base which is included rather between angle I and angle P. How about the second pair of base angles? So kung yung angle P and angle I, yun yung unang pair ng base angles, asan dyan yung pangalawang pares ng base angles? Again, Jeka.
Side NK po.
Yung base angles. Pangalawang pair ng base angles. Saan dyan yung pangalawang pares ng base angle?
Side KN po.
Side KN. Angle. Base yon, base angle na yung hinahanap natin. Sino na yun? Rizel. Yung side KN, yun yung isa sa base angles. Isa yun sa base. So ano yung dalawang angles that includes side KN, which is the second pair of your base angles? We have angle. Ayun, angle N and angle K. So, Lorentz, wait. Lorentz. So, angle K and angle N, these two are the second pair of base angles. Okay? So, kasi yung nakapresent dito is using the angle sum theorem. So, without using the angle sum theorem, but the property of an isosceles trapezoid, sabi natin, base angles are congruent. So, if angle I is 100 degrees, what will be the measurement of angle P since silang dalawa yung magka-partner, Remark?
100 din po, ma'am.
100 din. Okay? How about angle N and angle K? What will be their measures? Remark?
80 angles po, ma'am.
80?
80 degrees po, ma'am.
Ayun, 80 degrees. Okay? So, paano nakuha yung 80 degrees, Remark? Paano mo nakuha?
Ma'am, pinag-plus ko lang po yung upper base angle po, which is magiging 200 po. Tapos minus 360 po, which is 160. Then, dinivide ko po sa 2 para po mag-share po yung value nila sa K and N po, which is magiging 80 po.
Okay, so that is the first solution. Oh, tama. So, yun yung isa sa mga solution. I-add nyo itong dalawa, yung angle P and angle I, so kagaya nung ginawa niya, 200, then subtract it from 360. Kasi yung apat na angles, ang measurement niyan dapat, ang sum nung apat should be 360. So 360 minus 200, you have 160. And since angle K and angle N are congruent, that means they have equal measure. So paghahatian nila yung natitirang 160, which is 80. Okay, so bawat isa sa kanila will have a measure of 80 degrees. So nasagot na yung question natin, question number 3. Okay, yung isang solution, sabi ko kanina, sa isosceles trapezoid, though hindi siya nakalagay dun sa natin, the consecutive pair of your angles in an isosceles trapezoid, provided they are not base angles, are supplementary. So ibig sabihin, angle I and angle N, hindi sila base angles, but they are consecutive angles. Their sum must be equal to 180. Okay? So kung 100 yan, ano ang measurement nito? 80. Okay? Kasi 180 minus 80. So you have 80 degrees ito. So kung 80 yan, that means angle K is also 80 degrees. Okay? Pero yung present dito, yung angle sum theorem. Okay? So note, the sum of the four interior angles of any quadrilateral is 360 degrees. Ayan. So kung yung part, ang kino-compare ninyo with each other, kailangan yung congruent symbol ang gagamitin. So, angle P is congruent to angle I. Angle N is congruent to angle K because they are the pairs of base angles. Okay, so yung formula natin para sa angle sum theorem, you just add all the angles. Siyempre, yung unknown, you are going to represent it as X. Which is actually, yun yung formula na ginamit ni Remark. Ayan. So we have 80. So therefore, angle P, measure of angle P is 100 degrees. Measure of angle N is equal to 80 degrees. And measure of angle K is also equal to 80 degrees. So measurement na, kaya equal sign na ang ginamit dyan. Okay, tapos nilagay natin yung M, small letter M before the part, angle. angle P or angle K. Huwag nyo rin kalimutan yung symbol natin for angle. Okay, next. Number 4. If IK is equal to 2x plus 3 and PN is equal to 4x minus 5, find x. Again, IK and PN are diagonals. Module mo. Tapos na. Ano yung K? Tapos na yung value, nahanap nyo na yung value ni x. Jeda.
Ma'am, 4 po.
X is 4. Check natin. So, since IK and PN are, anong tawag doon, diagonals, they are congruent. So, yun yung equation natin. Actually, yung 4x minus 5 pwede nyong ilipat dun sa kabila. They are just the same. Okay? So, combine similar terms. Therefore, x is 4. Nakuha nyo din? Mga nagsosolve dyan. Okay, number 5. If PK is equal to A square, IN is equal to 7A plus 8, find A. So PK and IN are the legs of your trapezoid. So basically, yung equation ninyo, ganun lang sa number 4. Number 1, number 2, number 4. So yung equation nyo, ganyan. You have a quadratic equation. So combine natin. Walang similar terms, but we transform this. I-recall nyo yung lesson natin nung quarter 1. Okay? We are going to write this into standard form to solve for the value of A. So what will be the value of A? In the quadratic equation, A squared minus 7A minus 8 is equal to 0. So pwede kahit naalin doon sa 4 na methods of solving quadratic equation. Mas mabilis siya pag gagamitin niyo yung X method o kaya yung factoring method. So, ano yung mga factors ng a square minus 7a minus 8? Na-factor nyo na? Anong ginagamit yung method? Factoring? O may nagpa-quadratic formula? Ayan. Sinong ganito ang factor niya? Yung nag-factoring dyan. Since the value of our A is 1, A, B, C. A is 1, B is negative 7, C is negative 8. Since the value of our A is 1, factor nyo lang yan, A times A is A squared. Then, get the factor of negative 8 that will give you a sum of negative 7 that would be negative 8 and positive 1. Negative 8 times 1 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 1, we have negative 7. So, yan yung mga factors natin. A minus 8 and A plus 1. So, we are going to apply the ZPP or the zero product property. We set each factor equal to 0. So, we have A minus 8 is equal to 0. So, yung first value ng A natin is 8. While the second value of A, iset natin yung A plus 1 sa 0. So, therefore, we have negative 1. Okay? Since we are talking about measurements, okay, measurement ng length ng nitong trapezoid natin, the value that we are going to use, okay, will be the positive value. So, kung na-recall nyo yung previous lessons natin, if we are talking about measurements, walang negative measurement. Kaya ang ikukunin lang natin yung positive values ng mga variables. So, for number 5, the value of A is 8. Okay? So, pag pinahanap sa atin yung measurement ni segment PK, then we have 64 and not positive 1. Okay? Kasi yung value ng A ang gagamitin natin. Ayan. Since there is no negative measurement, therefore A is equal to 8. So, dalawa yung na-solve nating value, but we are going to drop the negative value for A. We just use the positive value. Okay, may questions dyan? Wala. Wala naman siguro. Okay, number 6. Sa number 6, since we are dealing with angles, pwedeng gamitin ninyo yung angle sum measure. Okay, yung angle sum theorem in a quadrilateral or yung sa supplements. Pwede nyo gamitin yun. So, if the measure of angle K is x and measure of angle P is x plus 20, find the measure of angle I. So, yung measurement ng angle I is just the same as the measure of angle P. Okay? So, mamaya, para makuha natin yung answer for the unknown, okay, for the question, for question number 6, ito ang gagamitin natin. But first, we need to identify kung ano muna yung value ng x. And since angle P and angle K are consecutive angles which are not base angles, which are not a pair of base angles, hindi sila yung pares ng base angle, we can have our equation as x plus 20 is equal to 180 kasi supplement sila. They are supplementary. Okay? Or, you can use the angle sum theorem, okay, in a quadrilateral. I-add nyo yung apat na angles, which is actually the one used in this presentation. So, angle P plus angle I, measure of angle P plus measure of angle I plus measure of angle N plus measure of angle K is equal to 360 degrees. So, angle P and angle I, pareho silang x plus 20. Tapos yung angle N saka angle K, they are the same, which is equal to x. Okay, so therefore, combine similar terms. The value of x would be 80. Okay, so if x is 80, therefore the measure of angle I is 80 plus 20, 100 degrees. Okay, 100 kasi pareho lang yung angle P saka angle I. They are the pair of base angles. Pero kung gusto nyong mag-shortcut, pwede na yung angle P plus angle K is equal to 180 degrees. So, anong statement or anong property ang magsusupport doon? Supplement. Tama. The two angles, angle P and angle K, are supplementary. Yun na yung magiging reason nyo if you are asked to give the reason. Bakit sila supplementary? Because they are not a pair of base angles. Since the trapezoid is an isosceles trapezoid. Okay? Kasi kung hindi isosceles yung trapezoid, hindi natin yun pwedeng maging reason. Kasi hindi lahat ng consecutive angles ng ordinary trapezoid supplementary. There are instances na hindi sila supplementary. But for isosceles trapezoid, if they are not a pair of base angles, they are always supplementary. Ayan. So, measure of angle I is 100 degrees. Okay. Next, C. In the figure, so ito yung figure natin. Fran is an isosceles trapezoid with bases, segment FR and segment AN respectively. So that means line segment CE is a midline. So midline siya. If this is an isosceles trapezoid, that means CE is a midline. Sino yan? So let us have, yes, Jean Gray.
Ma'am, napindot.
Ay, napindot lang. Yes. Okay, so let us have number 1. If FR is 12 centimeters and NA is equal to 28 centimeters, find CE. So yung median natin, median of a trapezoid has a formula of base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. The sum of the two bases is equal, or median is equal to 1/2 of the sum of the two bases. So what will be the measure of CE? If the measure of CE is 1/2 of the sum of these two bases, base 1 and base 2. Usually, ang nire-refer nating base 1, Princess.
Ma'am, 20 po.
Okay, check natin later. 20. Okay, so as I was saying, usually, yung base 1 na ginagamit natin is the shorter base, tapos yung base 2, longer base. Pero pwede ring mag-interchange yan. Okay, so it doesn't matter kung ano yung gusto nyong base 1, yung shorter o kaya yung longer base. Okay, so ang sagot ni Princess is 20. So check natin. So median is equal to base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. So 12 plus 28, 40 divided by 2. So therefore we have 20 centimeters. So check. Okay, number 2. Princess. Okay, number 2, if FR is 18 centimeters and CE is 23, what will be the measure of AN? So, yung isa sa mga base ang hinahanap. Given yung isang base at saka yung median. So, we are going to derive our formula doon sa median is equal to base 1 plus base 2 divide by 2. Dito pa rin natin kukunin yung solution natin. So, we can have this one. Actually, magpo-cross multiply lang tayo. Twice the median is equal to base 1 plus base 2. Tapos, transpose lang natin yung isa sa mga base. So, eto na yung formula natin. Pwedeng ito yung base 1. Pwede etong formula na to, pwede nating gamitin if base 1 is missing o kaya base 2 ang hinahanap din. So, either of the bases. Papalitan nyo lang yung subscript ng base 1 ng 1 saka 2. So, ano yung measure ng AN natin dito? Precious.
28 centimeters po.
Okay, so check natin. Substitute natin. Palitan natin yung mga values. So, we have to copy 2. Tapos yung median natin, of course, is 23 minus 18, yung FR. Okay, so 2 times 23, 46 minus 18. We have 28 centimeters. Tama? Okay, number 3. Yung FR naman, given ngayon si AN, tapos si FR naman ang hahanapin natin. Basically, pareho lang yung formula doon sa number 2. Palitan lang natin ng subscript. So, we have B2, B sub 2 is equal to 2 median, twice the median minus the first base or base sub 1. B sub 1. Precious.
21 centimeters
So,
po.
21. So, twice the median. Our median is 39. Tama? 2 times 39 minus 57. So, therefore, we have 21 centimeters. Okay, number 4. If FR is 24, AN is 4N, and CE is 3N, find the value of N. So this time, since variable ang hahanapin natin, may involved na variable. Pwede nga gamitin nyo na formula is this. Ito, twice the median is equal to base 1 plus base 2. Para shortcut na. Di na kayo mag-cross multiply kasi na-cross multiply na. So, ano na yung magiging value ng N natin? So, check natin. Okay, check natin kung tama yung 36 kasi merong question mark. Okay, so 2 times 3n, tama? Kasi yung 3n natin is the median, is equal to base 1 plus base 2. So kahit alin dito sa 24 saka 4n, ang i-substitute natin dun sa B1, B sub 1 saka B sub 2, okay lang. Importante, tama yung sinubstitute natin dun sa median. Okay? So 2 times 3n is equal to 24 plus 4n. So simplify and combine similar terms. So therefore, we have 6n minus 4n is equal to 24. Then divide natin both sides by 2. So therefore, our n is 12. Ayun, mali si Jeka. So mali yung 26. Saan ka nagkamali? Pag mali kasi yung sinubstitute nyo dito, okay, dun sa median, malamang dun ka nagkamali, dun sa part na yun ka nagkamali. So basically, ito lang yung formula natin. Ang importante, tama yung isa-substitute nyo dun sa median. Kasi yung base 1 at saka base 2, kagaya nga nung nabanggit ko, okay lang na magkapalit sila ng substitution. Pwedeng yung B1 mo yung 4n, tapos yung B2 mo yun yung 24. As long as yung median, which is CE, is correctly substituted. Okay, you're going to arrive at the same answer, which is 12. Yun. Number 5. Ayan. Same lang din. Yung gagamitin ninyong formula sa number 4. If FR is equal to n plus 4, AN is equal to 3n minus 8, and CE is 16, find the value of FR. So same formula. Twice the median is equal to the sum of the two bases. Jeddah tapos Jeddah. Jeddah.
Ma'am, 13 po.
Okay, check natin yung 13. So, twice the median. Ano yung median natin? Anong value ng median? We have remark
16 po.
16. So, twice 16. 2 times 16 is equal to base 1 plus base 2. So, n plus 4 plus 3n minus 8. So, simplify. 2 times 16 is 32. Then, n plus 3n. For n, 4 plus negative 8, you have negative 4. Then, combine similar terms. Transpose natin yung negative 4 sa kabila. So, we have 36 is equal to 4n. Divide both sides by 4. So, our n is 9. Okay? Since FR ang hinahanap, we're going to substitute 9 doon sa n plus 4. Doon sa n. Doon sa n plus 4. So, 9 plus 4, therefore, you have 13. Ayan. So, 13. Okay, number 6. If the sum of the bases of a trapezoid is 105 centimeters, find the length of the median. So, given na yung sum ng bases, you are just asked to give the length of the median. What will be the length of the median? Precious.
52.5 po.
Okay, we have 52.5. Okay, so pwedeng yun ang gamitin ninyo or pwede ring median is equal to base 1 plus base 2. Simply divide the given sum by 2. So kalahati ng sum ng dalawang bases, yun yung length ng median. So therefore, our median is equal to 52.5 centimeters. Given na yung sum. The sum is 105. So divide lang by 2. Okay? May questions kayo sa trapezoid? Before we go to the last one. Mayroon? Mayroon o wala? Wala siguro. Okay, so we have now the kite. So we are going to have the kite. So kite is a trapezium. So kagaya nung nasa diagram natin last time, kite is under a trapezium. That means kung yung parallelogram, dalawang pares ng opposite sides niya ay congruent, tapos yung trapezoid kanina, it has only one pair of parallel sides, yung trapezium naman, wala siyang pair ng parallel sides. And since kite is a special trapezium, it has no pair of parallel sides. So it has 0 pair of parallel sides. Okay? So we have here kite ADCB. So again, similar markings means they are congruent. They have the same measurement. So as defined, nung dinefine natin yung kite last time, it is said to be a quadrilateral or a trapezium with 2 distinct pairs of adjacent congruent sides. Okay? That means it has no opposite sides which are congruent. Wala siyang opposite side na congruent, but it has adjacent pair, consecutive sides, okay, or it has 2 pairs of opposite adjacent sides or consecutive sides that are congruent. So in this case, yung segment AB and segment AD are the first pair of congruent sides, and segment BC and segment DC are the second pair of congruent sides in this kite ADCB based on the markings that we have. Okay? So yan, segment AB is congruent to segment AD and segment BC is congruent to segment DC. So we have different parts of a kite. So meron tayong specific name for the parts of your kite kasi meron yung mga quadrilaterals, meron tayong vertex, lahat sila may vertex, may angles, may sides, but we have specific names for the parts of your kite. So first part is the vertex. The common vertex or the common vertices of the congruent sides of the kite are called the ends of the kite. So, since meron tayong dalawang pares ng adjacent congruent sides, okay, we also have 2 ends. So, dalawang pair ng congruent side, kaya meron tayong dalawang ends. So, ano yung mga ends? Yun yung common vertex ng congruent side. So, in segment AB and segment AD, ang common vertex nila is point A. That means point A is an end of a kite. Okay? While for segment BC and segment DC, ang common vertex nila is point C. So point C is also an end of our kite ADCB. So point A and point C are the ends of the kite ADCB. Okay, so yun yung specific name for point A and point C. But for point B and point D, we simply call them vertex. Okay? Pero yung point A at point C, we call them ends. Plural ends. Ayan. Next part, if you are going to connect point A and point C, yung ends ng kite natin, we form a diagonal. Pero itong diagonal na to, we call it as the symmetry line. So aside from calling it a diagonal, we can also call it as a symmetry line. Bakit? Kasi it connects your ends. Okay? It connects the two ends of your kite. So the line containing the ends of the kite is a symmetry line for the kite. Symmetry kasi kung ano yung makikita nyo dito sa side na to, sa left side ng kite, pag hinati natin, ayan, may kite ako, may props ako, mayroon akong kite. Okay? Kite. Nakikita nyo ba? Okay? So, eto yung side na to, saka side na to, they are congruent. Congruent kasi nag-overlap sila. They are of the same size. Eto din. Yun yung second. Okay? So, dito sa kite na to, ito yung first end, ito yung second end. So, etong line na to, pag kinonect natin ito, yung first end, yung upper end natin, saka yung lower end, we form the symmetry line. So, pag finold ko siya along the symmetry line, kung ano yung itsura nitong side na to ng kite, ganun din dito sa kabila. Okay? Kumbaga, reflection nitong part na to ng kite, etong kabila. Okay? So, segment AC is the symmetry line of kite ADCB. Next is the vertex angles. So, pag sinabi nating vertex angles sa kite, okay, it is the angle that contains the ends of our kite. So, kung ito yung end, ito din yung kabilang end. Yung angle na to that contains the end is a vertex angle. Since dalawa yung end, meron tayong dalawang vertex angles. So in the figure, dito sa slide natin, yung angle BAD at saka angle BCD are the vertex angles. So these two angles, angle A or angle BAD, saka yung angle C or angle BCD, are the vertex angles. Okay? So kung vertex angle yung angle A saka angle C, your angle B and angle D are simply called non-vertex angles. Hindi sila vertex angle, kaya non-vertex angle sila. Okay? So, yun yung mga specific names ng parts ng kites natin. We have ends, symmetry line, okay? Then we have vertex angles and non-vertex angles. Of course, meron pa rin siyang dalawang diagonal. Meron pa rin tayong isang diagonal. Dalawa pala. Yung symmetry line as well as itong line na to. So we have the first property. So the diagonals of a kite are perpendicular to each other. Okay, so dito sa figure natin, we have yung first diagonal natin, which is also the line, the symmetry line, yung segment AC and segment BD. They intersect at point S. Kung nakikita ninyo, meron tayong square corner dyan. That means the angle that is formed by their intersection are right angles. So meron tayong apat na right angles dito. Yung angle ASD, angle CSD, angle ASB, and angle CSB. So meron tayong apat na right angles. So that is the first property of a kite. So kagaya sa rhombus at saka square, I hope you still remember yung mga properties na yon. Aside from rhombus and square, yung diagonals ng kite are also perpendicular to each other. They form 90 degrees, okay, with their intersection. So second property, The diagonal connecting the vertex angles, or in short, yung symmetry line, is a perpendicular bisector of the other diagonal. So, hindi lang siya basta nag-form ng 90-degree angle, kundi nahati din yung isang diagonal into two equal parts. Okay? So, dito, kaya meron tayong 3 markings doon sa segment BS and segment DS. That means, congruent silang dalawa. So, yung segment AC natin, hindi lang siya nag-form ng 90-degree angles with your segment BD, but also it becomes a bisector of line segment BD. So, sabi nga natin, pag ginamit nyo yung word na bisector sa geometry, it means the part is being divided into two equal measures. So, hindi lang siya basta na-divide, but it is divided equally. Okay? So, in kite ADCB, segment AC is the perpendicular bisector of segment BD. Kung gusto nyo ng proof, balik tayo dito sa kite ko. Okay? So, kung ito yung symmetry line natin, ito yung isang diagonal natin, okay? It connects the vertex angles of our kite. Ito yung vertex, first vertex angle, ito yung second vertex angle natin. Okay? So, ito yung isang diagonal. So, pag finold ko, nag-intersect kasi sila. Okay? So, equal yung measurement nito dito. Ito. Equal. Equal sila. Walang lumagpas. Walang kulang. Okay? They have equal measure. Nahati sila. Kahit nasukatin natin yan. Because your symmetry line is a perpendicular bisector of the other diagonal. So, take note of that. So, yung tinutukoy dito na the diagonal connecting the vertex angles of the kite is actually the symmetry line. So, we have segment BS is congruent with segment DS. Then, we have the non-vertex angles of a kite are congruent. Ayan, congruent. Etong angle na to, kung ito yung vertex angles natin, ito at saka yan, that means this angle and this are non-vertex. So, yung measurement nito, saka ito, congruent, pareho sila ng measure. So, mag-o-overlap sila together. Hindi kagaya ng vertex angle. Ayan. Nakikita nyo ba? Umalabo. Okay? Ito yung isang angle natin. Ito. Puti kasi. Ito yung isa. Ito na lang. Para hindi nyo makita. Ito yung angle nung isa, yung sa taas, na vertex angle. Okay? Ito naman yung sa lower part. So, pag anong tawag doon? Finold ko, at pinag-overlap ko yung dalawang angle, mas malaki ito, yung nasa ilalim na angle. Ayan, yung may print, kesa dito. Hindi nakikita. Okay? Basta itong angle na to, yung angle A, saka yung angle C, they are not equal. They are not congruent. Mas malaki ito. Mas malaki yung measurement nito kesa dito sa angle C. While angle B and angle D, they are congruent. They have equal measures. So in this kite, ADCB, since angle A and angle C are vertex angles, therefore, angle B and angle D are non-vertex. That means angle B and angle D are congruent. Okay? Next property, one diagonal bisects a pair of opposite angles. Again, yung diagonal na tinutukoy dyan is the symmetry line. So, hindi ko sure kung visible sa inyo yung etong line na to. So, etong line AC dyan, di ba yan yung vertex yan yung symmetry line natin. So hinati niya itong angle A into two angles. Angle BAC and angle BAC and angle DAC. So these two angles are congruent. Okay? Likewise, yung angle C na isa, yung angle C, yung isang vertex angle natin, kasi vertex angle yung A, vertex angle din yung C. So yung isang vertex angle natin, which is angle C, is also divided into two equal parts. We have angle BCA and angle DCA. So these two angles are equal. So for example, 80 degrees to, yung angle B. Sulat ko para di ko makalimutan. So if angle B is, ilan yung sinabi ko? 80 degrees. Ano ang measurement ni angle D? Jeka?
80 degrees din po, ma'am.
80 degrees din. Okay? So if we are going to draw segment AC, itong angle na to, at sabi dito sa property na to, one diagonal bisects a pair of opposite angles. So kung yung angle A is, let us say, angle A is 120 degrees. Ano ang measurement ni angle BAC? What will be the measurement of angle BAC? Kung halimbawa yung angle BAD is 120. Jeddah.
60.
Okay, we have 60 degrees. Kasi bisect, nahati into two equal measures yung angle BAD. So yung angle ABC is 60, yung angle DAC is also 60. So given those measurements, ano ang measurement ni angle C? So kung 80 to, 80 din yan, ito is 120, ano ang measure ni angle C? Take note na quadrilateral pa rin yan. So mag-a-apply ano to? Yung angle C. Raymark?
80 po, ma'am.
80? Yung buong angle C, ha? Di ba dapat yung sum ng apat na angles, angle B plus angle A plus angle D plus angle C should be 360. Kasi quadrilateral siya. So kung 80 yung angle B at 120 to, tapos ito, 80 din. Kasi congruent yung angle B and angle D. So 80 plus 120 plus, ano to ay? 80, you have 280. Ano ang measurement nito nung angle C? So we have angle C is, tama si, anong pangalan nun? Raymark, 80. Okay? So 80 yan. Kasi, i-add nyo yung tatlo, subtract it from 360, so you have 80. So, ibig sabihin, if angle C, yung buong angle BCD is 80 degrees, what will be the measure of angle BCA and angle DCA? What will be the measure of each angle? Angle BCA and angle DCA. Kung 80 ito, yung buong angle C. We have Jeddah.
Ma'am, 180.
Ilan?
180 po.
Bakit 180? Diba 80 na ito, yung buong angle C, nahati siya, kaya ano ang measurement ng angle BCA? Raymark.
Ma'am, angle C will be 40 po, angle B is 80, and angle A po is 60. Then angle D po is 80 din po.
So, angle BCA will have a measure. Itong angle lang, ay, ano ba yan? Yung angle, etong angle lang na to, angle BCA. Itong angle lang na to. Yung angle BCA lang. Jeddah.
Ma'am, 40.
Yes, that is 40. 'Di ba? Sabi natin kanina, sabi ni Raymark kanina, this is 80 degrees na. Kasi nga, using the angle sum theorem, kung angle B is 80, it is equal yung angle B and angle D using the property of the kite that non-vertex angles are congruent and they are non-vertex angles. So 80 yan, 80 din to. Tapos yung given, yung binigay ko kanina na measurement ng angle A is 120. And so therefore yung angle C is 80 kasi 80 plus 120 plus 80 is equal to 280. Subtract it from 360. So yun yung measurement ni angle C. Okay? Ayan, napindot. Okay, so ang measurement ngayon ni angle BCA is 40. Bakit siya naging 40? We simply divide angle C by 2. Why? Because segment AC is an angle bisector based on this property that one of the diagonal bisects a pair of opposite angles. Sabi ko nga kanina, yung diagonal na tinutukoy dyan is actually the symmetry line. So, though hindi equal, hindi congruent yung vertex angles, if you are going to draw the, the symmetry line, the pairs of angles that you have formed would be congruent to one another. So, not necessary na congruent yung angle A and angle C, but the angles that are formed, if you are going to draw the symmetry line, since it is an angle bisector, yung mafo-form nyo na angle, you have two pairs of angles that are formed are congruent to one another. Okay? So, sabi ni Raymark kanina, kung i-identify natin yung measurement ng angles nung triangle na na-form, triangle BAC, yung angle C, 40, yung angle B, 80, yung angle A, which is angle BAC, is 60. So, 60 plus 80 plus ilan to? 40, 180. Etong kabilang side din, 60, 80, 40 din yan. So, ma-apply pa rin nyo yung angle sum theorem in triangle. Then, okay? Then, dito sabi niya, segment AC divides angle A and angle C into two equal parts. So, angle BAS, yung S dyan, yung S dito kanina, natanggal na yung line segment dito. So, it is angle BAC is congruent to angle DAC and angle BCA is congruent to angle DCA. So, angle bisector yung segment AC. So, take note, yung symmetry line natin, so symmetry line is an angle bisector. At the same time, it is also a perpendicular bisector of the diagonal. So angle bisector siya ng vertex angles, and it is also a perpendicular bisector of the diagonal, the other diagonal. So yung symmetry line. Yung segment AC. So fourth property, area. It already refers to the area of a kite. So in order to find the area of a kite, we are simply going to make use of this formula. Area is equal to 1/2 times the product of the two diagonals. Or we simply have the product of the two diagonals divided by 2. So yung D sub 1 and D sub 2 dyan, it refers to the diagonals. Shorter diagonal times the longer diagonal. Okay? So D1 and D2, pwedeng mag-interchange yung D1 and D2. Kung yung D1 ninyo, kung gusto nyo siya yung longer diagonal, it doesn't matter. So for example, find the area of a kite whose diagonals measures 12 centimeters and 9 centimeters. So imumultiply nyo lang to, since area lang naman yung hahanapin natin. So 12 times 9, ayan, solution. Multiply lang, then get 1/2 of the product. So we have 54 centimeters square. Okay? What if ang given area is, let us say the given area is, let us say, 200. And one of the diagonals, let us say D1 is 10. What will be the length of the other diagonal? The area of the kite is 200, and one of the diagonal measures 10. What will be the length of the other diagonal? Okay, we have Jeff. Paki-explain, Jeff, kung paano ka naka-arrive doon sa 40.
Ma'am, ano po, 10 times 40, tapos 400, divided by 2, for 200 po.
Okay. Nag-trial and error ka, ganon.
Yes po, ma'am.
So 40. Okay, or you can have, since ano to, 1/2 yan, magcro-cross multiply kayo, you have A is equal to 1/2 times D1 times D2 given ang area. So 200 is equal to 1/2 times D1 or 10 times D. O pwede rin i-represent nyo yan as X. So cross multiply. So you have 2 times 200 is equal to 10X. Okay, so 2 times 200, 400, divide both sides by 10. So therefore, D is equal to 40. So kung may given unit, you attach the unit of measure. Okay, so 40. Pero kung gusto nyo mag-trial and error, okay lang din. Pero kung meron ng value, meron ng X na nakalagay, halimbawa 12X, ganon. Kailangan yung gumamit ng formula. So kung isa sa mga diagonals ang missing, your formula could be D, the missing diagonal, is equal to twice the area, 2A over D, the given diagonal. Okay? The unknown diagonal is equal to twice the area divided by the given diagonal. Yun yung magiging formula ninyo. Okay. Then yung last property is the perimeter. So, as you all know, perimeter is the distance around a polygon. So, basically, i-add nyo lang yung measurement ng mga sides ng polygon natin. So, yung formula for shorter method, okay, yung formula natin para sa perimeter ng kite is twice the sum of the two sides, two non-congruent sides. Okay? Or you have perimeter is equal to 2a plus 2b. So for example, the perimeter of a kite is 64 centimeters. The length of one of its sides is 14 centimeters, more than half the length of the other. Find the length of each side. So dito kailangan natin ng representation kasi hindi exact measurement yung binigay na length ng isa sa mga sides ng kite natin. Okay, so of course, as a rule, yung unknown equation or unknown value sa problem will be represented by any variable that you like. Then, ang common lang nga lang is x. So let us just use x. So we let x be equal to the length of one side of the kite. So kung x yung isa sa mga length ng kite, isa sa mga side ng kites, the other side would be represented as the length of one of its sides is 14 centimeters, more than half the length of the other side. So dito manggagaling yung 14 centimeters more than half the length of x. Okay, yung second side natin. So 14 centimeters more than half the length. So we have 1/2 of x plus 14. 14 centimeters more, so plus 14, than half the length of the other. So 1/2 of x. So that is the length of the other side. So we let x be the length of one side of the kite, while the other side would be 1/2 of x plus 14. So using the formula, perimeter is equal to 2a plus 2b. Mas convenient para sa atin gamitin ito kesa dun sa isang side kasi magdi-distribute pa kayo. Pero kung gusto nyo yun, okay lang. Hahaba lang ng isang step yung solution nyo. So replace natin yung P by the given perimeter, 64. Then copy lang natin yung dalawang constant natin na 2. Replace natin yung A by X. Kung gusto nyo, yun yung 1/2 x plus 14 dun sa A, okay lang din. Then, yung B, palitan nyo ng x. O kaya, 1/2 of x plus 14. In this case, ang sinubstitute para dun sa B is 1/2 of x plus 14. So, na-shortcut na to. Na-distribute na. So, we have 64 is equal to 2x. 2 times x is 2x. Plus 2 times b, 2 times quantity, 1/2 x plus 14. So that is 1/2. 2 times 1/2 is x. 2 times 14 is 28. So you have x plus 28 here. Okay? Then combine similar terms. Transpose natin si 28, tapos combine natin si 2x plus x. So therefore, we have... Ayan, 36 is equal to 3x. Then divide both sides by 3. So 12 is equal to x. So therefore, the sides, each side of the kite will have a measure of 12 centimeters and 20 centimeters. Palit lang natin yung na-solve nating value ng x dun sa other side. The lengths of the sides of the kite are 12 centimeters and 20 centimeters. Okay? Questions? May questions kayo? Ito yung performance task number 1 ninyo. Isasend ko lang din itong PowerPoint natin sa GC later. So performance task number 1. You can have your journal uh, into at least 5 to 10 sentences. You make it short na lang. Pero kung masipag kayo, okay lang din mahaba. But then, wala namang wrong answer. Okay? Take note pag gumagawa kayo ng journal ninyo, walang wrong answer ha. Pag nagre-grade ako, walang wrong answer. Pare-pareho kayo actually ng grade. Okay? Sa performance task. Nagma-minus lang ako dun sa mga late na nagsisend or nagsasubmit ng output nila para sa performance task. But initially, kung sa first performance task nagbigay ako ng 10, lahat kayo 10. Tapos mababawasan na lang kung ilang araw kayong na-late ng submission. Kasi may nagtanong last time kung paano ko daw nire-rate yung performance task, kung may maling sagot daw ba. Wala namang maling sagot kasi usually opinionated naman or sariling experiences ninyo yung mga sinishare nyo doon sa performance task. Kaya walang mali doon. So basically, pare-pareho kayo ng scores. Nagkakaroon lang ng minus points yung iba kasi nalilate ng submission. So kung ilang araw kang na-late sa pag-submit, doon, yun din, yung number of points na mababawas doon sa highest possible score. Gagawa ko ng anong tawag doon? Link para sa Padlet. Paglalagyan nyo ng performance task para hindi nyo na i-preprint. Okay. Doon ko na rin ilalagay kung kailan yung submission para sa performance task. Okay na? May question na kayo? Doon ko na lang ilalagay, Jeff. Kasi kagaya ng sinabi ko, hindi ko alam kung nabanggit anong pangalan nun kanina, yung nag-PM? Sino yung nag-PM sa akin kanina? Joey. Kung nabanggit mo ba sa kanila, Joey, na may exit quiz kayo? Okay, so I will be sharing your exit quiz. Pero may sisend din akong quiz ninyo. Ito, i-add ko dun sa score na makukuha ninyo sa quiz number 3. Wait lang, share ko lang. Kunin ko yung link. Wait lang ha. So yung score nyo dito will be added to your quiz number 3 na isi-send ko din later. Pa-click na lang yung link natin para sa quizzes. 20 items lang to. So pagtapos na kayo sa quiz, you can out na. Pwede na kayong mag-out. Working ba yung link natin? Opo, ngayon na. Exit quiz nyo to. Yung score nyo dito will be added to your quiz number 3. Na isi-send ko pa lang. Na nasa classroom. Ayun, working naman. So yung mga hindi naka-attend ng class natin, di na sila pwedeng magsagot dito. So wala silang extra points, wala silang plus points para